Hi YouTube, Marko with Marko's Garage, coming to you today with another car that may be being built on this channel for next year's Great Beater Challenge, but not going to be my car, it's going to be Jesse's car. Guy works at Bumper to Bumper, and this is what he picked up. Alright, well here it is. It is a 1949 Ford sedan, four-door sedan. And this car has been last registered in 1966. This would have been a white plate with blue lettering in Alberta. And you can tell this is a 49. From what I understand, it's the only year it had the Ford script. In 50 they went to a logo here, so somebody was telling me. I'm not a Ford expert, so if I'm wrong, that's yeah, you could tell me in the comments, because I'm probably wrong. It needs some glass and stuff like that. This car is fairly complete, like it still has the hood ornament, and as you can see, all the side trimming here. Let me get around and show you this car. Now you might think this car is green, like a dark military green, but actually, if you rub through the paint, it is actually a dark blue. As I can show you on the firewall when we get in there, you can actually start to see more blue through here and on the rear quarter panel. So as you can see here, I think this comes up. Yeah, that's how you open the trunk. And there's some parts in here. It's got a little bit of a soft trunk floor, which is pretty typical for these cars, but overall it's not terrible. It has all the taillight lenses and all the trimming. Some of the trim isn't perfect, as you can see. Needs some door handle work and things like that. And a lot of the glass, this one is okay, but a lot of the glass is separating and even cracked some of it. This window is broken, needs to be replaced. Now one thing that happened, Jesse brought the car here a couple weeks ago. He went through and took out all of the interior. I had him do that so we could get rid of all the cloth and find out what was under the carpet. And there's some typical rust here in the floor, but other than that, it's not terrible. It's nice and solid in the back here. Even got the headliner out, which is good. Get all that cleaned up and dry. It's got a complete dashboard. Everything seems to be there. And yeah, so close that up. So the whole idea with this car is he wants to build it to be kind of like my Hudson there, except we're going to try and retain the original flathead V8 and transmission. Looks like this transmission on the bottom has an overdrive solenoid, so this has the overdrive. Now let me open up the hood for you. Factory prop rod here. The hood is a little soft, the hinges were stiff. And somebody had opened this over the years, and the hood's quite distorted, so we'll have to find maybe something for that. Now as you can see, there's new spark plugs in here. Now I didn't try getting it running yet. All I did was had the old ones out, and we poured, you can see it's kind of wet and oily on the top. I've been pouring transmission fluid and diesel fuel into this engine for a week and a half. We pulled the radiator, so this was all complete, nothing was missing. I pulled the radiator out so that I could have access to the front crank pulley here. As you can tell by some markings here, I have a big bar that I was able to get the engine turning over with. We had to put a new starter in, and I ran a new cable to a new solenoid. This is, other than the cables and the starter, I had the solenoid in my garage, and this short cable was in the garage. This was off the Hudson engine when I had it on the ground, so that's there. I got a ground cable I got to replace here. The distributor is out because I'm rebuilding it, so I'll show you that. And we got it turning over with the starter. Turns over really nice. Lubricated the top end of it. All the valves are moving. Actually got decent compression on all 8 holes. They were all even. My compression tester was leaking a little bit and it still had 75 on it, but they were all even. So I'm hoping it's around the 100 range and it should fire, so we'll see about that. That's the whole idea here, is to get this thing running. I didn't touch the carburetor, I didn't touch the cooling system. We just want to be able to get it running. I can pour fuel down the carburetor. Obviously without coolant, it's not like we can run this engine long. The people that Jesse bought the car from They learned how to drive on this car. So they said it's been sitting since about 1966. They drove it a couple years after registration, just around on the farm, so maybe 68. And then something maybe happened with the rear differential, they said, something like that, and the car's been sitting. And it hasn't really moved in the last 4 years from where it was picked up on the day that Jesse picked it up a couple weeks ago. So there it is. Let's try and get it running. Let me show you the distributor. It's I totally cleaned it up and rebuilt it, so it came out okay. I lined it up with number 1 where it's supposed to be, pointing down a little bit to the front, and I put new points, new condenser, new rotor, okay, greased it all, like the lobes there, and gapped the points to 15 thousandths when it's open, and cleaned up the vacuum pod and just cleaned the entire distributor. This was all caked in grease and mud. Cleaned up the gear. We'll put some grease on that gear before we drop it in the hole. I put oil in here and everything. There's no play in the distributor shaft. It's nice. It's really, it feels good. Seems to be no issues here. I put some oil down in here as well. Redid the wire here because all of this casing on the wire was off, so I had to resolder a new wire onto that pin, and then I just got to make a jumper wire to go from there to the coil. What I did, of course, this car is 6 volt with positive ground. It's now going to be 12 volt negative ground. That's what we're going to change it to. So as of right now, we're just going to have a couple battery cables. I took the 12 volt coil out of my Hudson because we know it works. So I put a new coil in the Hudson. That will then allow us to start this thing on 12 volts. It's getting dark out, so I got some lights up here. So what I did, I lined it up so that the number 1, which is recommended on these Ford flatheads, number 1 points kind of down here in this direction. So that's how we're going to drop it back in. As you can see, everything's ready to go here, and I did all my adjustments so I don't have to do it in the car, so it's ready to. I got to make a wire that goes from here to the coil. So let me just get some grease on here so that it doesn't go dry. Just grease up the distributor shaft here, and of course the gear. Let's get some grease on that gear. Now some people might say don't do that, but I'd rather not have it run dry. So drop that in here. That's where it was. It was pointing down in this direction when I took it out. Now you can set your timing here. This is the little lock that holds the distributor down.
Where does this line go?
Well, this goes onto your advance here.
Okay.
Which we can thread that in. It's not really going to matter to get it running, but we'll hook that up. This is my first time playing with a flathead Ford, so if I'm doing something that's not right.
Songs have been written about flatheads.
What about flatheads?
Songs have been written.
Songs have been written about 409s too.
That's right.
Having an old car with a flathead is 2 hobbies. One is the flathead engine, the other one is the old car. You gotta really like these things. I'll just leave this old cap for now. Okay. Alright. Now I have to check the firing order. And then I gotta build a new coil wire, or let's that old one there. Let me actually do the job, eh? Good enough for now. Alright, now I gotta build a wire to go from the distributor to the coil, and then from the coil over to the power source. So let's get a battery in the car and build a couple wires. I'm just hooking this battery so it doesn't fall into the engine. Redneck strapping it to the fender. Okay, that's the positive. This is the negative. Okay, alright. I'm going to make It's wires.
Took the air cleaner off.
Okay, so as you can see, Sandy removed the air cleaner here, the oil bath air filter. Inside the carburetor looks clean, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Check this out, guys. This has been sitting. Look how nice and clean that looks. I got to show you something else that's really surprising about this engine that makes me just feel like it's good. Is if I pull the dipstick on this thing, look at how clean that oil is in there. So, I don't know. Could be, who knows? Who knows what's in there? But anyway, I almost should drop the oil and put new stuff in, but it smells funky.
Yeah.
In the ballpark. Put it this way. So our firing order's in the right spot. We may have to turn the distributor a little bit, but that's okay. That's on the advanced side. So, okay. So, probably, yeah, that's probably pretty good there. So, next thing we want to do is check. Did you disconnect the fuel line here from the fuel pump? No? Okay, we should do that, eh?
Right here?
No, before the pump, where it comes in. But let's check for spark. Solenoid, and then positive here, which it should turn over. Does that turn over nice, right? Then we're going to check for spark. So we need to attach this lead here to get power. Okay, and now we can check for spark here. Want to zoom in on the camera? Just bring the camera close. Set it there. We can just check for spark. Look at that. Good spark.
Good.
So, okay, so we have good spark on the everything.
Oh, you have to take off the fuel line.
Yeah, so let's disconnect this so we don't burn the points. This has been already kind of half modified, so this will have to be repaired, so I don't mind. Usually I don't like to cut hoses, but in this case, we're just going to disconnect it. And we get the car working. We'll have to put a new fuel tank and all that anyway. Pull the carburetor here through the vent tube. This will be a thirsty engine. It hasn't drank in so many years. Fuel, no big deal. Okay, I just.
Boy, you got it right.
Jesse gets here.
Okay, all right. Well, we know it sounds promising. We're gonna wait for Jesse, the owner. We're gonna disconnect this, and we'll pick up where we left off. Okay, so the moment has arrived. We can hook it up and see if it runs. Here's the owner here. It's whited out by the light there. All right, so Sandy, you want to hook that up? Hook up power here. So we've checked for spark. We've turned it over. We've checked the firing order. That's all good. So you'll see how clean this carburetor is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Look how clean that is inside.
That's impressive.
Unbelievable. And you have to keep in mind, it's what is it? What +1 out right now?
+1, something
Yeah,
like that.
+1. It's cold. So not only are we trying to start this thing hasn't been started in years, it's also a little bit of a cold start. All right. So starter button. See what happens here.
Yeah!
That's exciting. That's not bad. There you go. A little more fuel. Do that again. There you go.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm super impressed how well that started.
Go ahead, Jess. You can do that. go. It runs.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
pretty good for sitting that long. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
55 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, 1966.
Well, there you go. Flathead running. Presumably 66. It could have been 68. The guy said he drove a couple of years on the farm, right? So
Yeah.
sitting a while and got it freed up, and it runs. So there we go.
You can change the cap now.
Yeah, well, we know it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally worth it now.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you like these videos, please subscribe, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications. Have yourself a great day. See you on the next one. Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Fuel.
No big deal. All right.
Spray the fuel on the engine too.
Oh, well, you want to have fire. We got it, and that's how YouTubers make money. Is they make it like exciting, isn't it? Put a little bit of fuel on the engine. They have a backfire, big flames, right?
Oh, I trust you.